be upset with the way that they've performed, regardless of what happens at the end of this game and whose Nexus is going down. But we are on to the Rift for the final time this evening. NORD taking on Riddle. It's a best of one now. The winner of this goes all the way to the grand final.
Banderas kind of chilling top in like an Astro losing matchup. Not entirely sure why that's there, but just a lot given to Firerain this game. A lot of faith from Riddle against, honestly, one of the best mid laners the NLC has produced in Fury, the guy who's currently dancing and jiggling on your screen there on a champion that's apparently an entire galaxy. I'm not entirely sure how that lore works. He's the oldest champion in the game, technically. I know that.
Was pretty sure that Udyr was released before him.
No, as in he's like a billion years old.
I completely. So it's like just genuine, like millennia. Like, are we talking start of the universe sort of vibes?
Yeah. He is a universe or a galaxy or something like that. I had to answer this question appropriately for a quiz, like which champion is the oldest champion in like the lore. And I flipped Aurelion Sol and it worked. I was gonna say Amumu before that, and then I remembered Asol is like some god or something.
Wait,
but he's one of those champions where the scale messes with you, because that guy's supposed to be as big as a galaxy, but then you realize he's the same size as like a reed. And then you realize the reeds are the size of trees, and then you realize that the champions are the size of trees. And then it's like the trees are the size of reeds are the size of people. And then it gets really weird when you see the logs. So like there's like a log between like where that NLC thing is and the next thing. Okay, you can kind of see it there, like at the bottom where the tribe starts.
We're doing log spotting.
Log is like 5 times bigger than any individual tree. So is there like a separate giga species of trees? What are these trees? Yes. Then? Are they like standard trees or small trees? Are those big reeds or like small people? Like the scale doesn't make sense, and those trees are smaller than the reeds. And then like thinking about Aurelion Sol sends me on this.
I'm just wondering how Maokai and Ivan fit into this equation. What happens?
Malphite's a mountain who's as big as a tree, which is as big as a person, which is apparently as big as a blade of grass. I don't know. I don't know the scale in this game.
It's quite strange.
Don't think about it.
I remember, like, back in the day when they had, like, the Institute of War, before all of that stuff was retconned, like, canonically, everyone was shrunk to participate in the League of Legends, which I always thought was quite an interesting concept. Like,
so they did explain that. So instead of just, like, firing the art department and hiring some competent people, they just decided to make lore about it.
Well, it's just like, I find it hard to see anyone convincing Cho'Gath to just like become smaller. Like that doesn't.
I mean, if you tell him that he'll eat well if he goes smaller, I guess.
Oh,
it's easier,
true. Not been too much happening in this game.
So these guys are like Pikmin.
I've never played Pikmin. I don't know what that means in this context. I'm afraid I don't do pop culture references, unfortunately, veteran.
To call Pikmin pop culture is kind of like a stretch, I'd say.
I didn't have a GameCube. Hold on, Akabane is not in a great spot. Banderas flashing to try and take him out. Just ends up going 1-for-1 on that Summoner Spell trade with the enemy jungler. And actually, in the bot lane for what feels like the first time this series, it's Ginger and Kiba that have decisively got the winning matchup in the early stages.
Not really winning matchup, but the early level 1 definitely favoured them, and they snowballed that into a very slow crash, again getting picks on towards the enemy bot lane. We're like really not having a good time here. Fire under LeBlanc, though, should be winning in the early phases of this matchup. Wins the trades, gets a good state for himself, fully happy to just recall. Happy to greed a little for some minions as well, knows that Aurelion Sol loses out the more he does it. Asol just taking the L on the way for now, TPing in. LeBlanc has the option to match TP or just walk in. Is going to match TP. Has cost a couple of minions on the ASO with that, but with the TP parity, can win trades again and then just look to play either side. And on the next winning trade situation, that's when he'll get the big minion advantage, or it gets an advantage for his team on the map. So good play right now on what should be a winning matchup. haven't had much focus on it so far because of my existential crisis. But still, early phase is going better than expected. I feel bad for Banderas on this matchup. It's worse than the Oscar Rinin Ornn matchup into the Camille.
Oh no.
There's no real window here. But doing better than that sad event.
I tell you what, no window means no opportunity to defenestrate yourself. So that's something, right? And Banderas has often just been that guy for Riddle that can play any style, any sort of champion that they want him to. And now they've switched things up for the Game 5 of this series. Firerain on a bit more of a carry threat. I think having the Ornn in top lane, it makes a lot of sense, regardless of how unfortunate the laning phase is going to be.
Wukong leaning bot, this is a wave that Jinzhou has to push in for Crash. If Jinzhou gets too greedy and goes for trade on Woolite, that was going to be a window for Akabane, but no window given. Riddle doing a Drake. This call being much better than that Drake call from the last game, Johan.
We don't talk about it.
We just did, and I will continue to talk about it.
Hey, this game, though, gets the Drake pretty much uncontested, and Riddle, again, having a chill early game. They know that they can't rest on this because they've shown the ability to throw these
Wait, so
a little
they
bit.
shrink the characters, right? Was that a shrunken real star then?
No, so, like, what...
Because, okay, because my question then is, like, as a galaxy, does he retain his mass when they shrink him down?
It's magic, veteran. It could do whatever it wants.
But, okay, so does it want to retain its mass when it shrinks it down?
I feel like that would present some fairly significant challenges.
Yes, it would.
So I'm going to go with no.
That also presents significant challenges.
Are we gonna start getting onto the laws of thermodynamics, conservation of mass and energy, and that?
How is the Storm able to maintain the exact same reaction at a lower mass then?
Because it's in Runeterra and the laws of physics are different.
Your mum.
Oh, got him.
Fury not liking the laws of physics in Runeterra, but sidestepping firing.
That's pretty good. So, New Aurelian Soul, okay? I've heard that he's pretty damn OP, veteran. What is it about this champion that you need to watch out for as the game goes on?
His trades with QW, which is basically an aimbot locked on you, while he just, like, literally space glides over mid lane. It looks insanely tilting and there's no real counterplay. So his trade patterns were the really big issue with him because he just won trades super easily as an all-in champion. He's lost the ability to just like sit in one spot and insta-give every single wave, but he's gained the ability to win long trades against most champions. They did do some changes to him, and in this patch they made LeBlanc's trades a lot easier, particularly because she doesn't have to choose between W on the wave and W on you anymore, because her Q resets cooldown on unit kills, which includes every minion, so she can spam her Q as well to maintain a form of wave control. This coming at the same time as Aurelion Sol's trading itself gets nerfed, allows LeBlanc to be in a very strong position this particular matchup. Again, I thought we'd see this on Fury's side, because Lissandra was like the classic counter, but that's not how it's gone, right? Instead we're seeing this, but I still don't quite understand how the mass thing works with the stars. So
well, we don't need to worry about that because you know Runeterra's got different laws of physics, right? That's how it works. You don't need to worry about that. And I think for NORD, for the first real time in this series, I'm looking at their comp and I'm going, this doesn't need to work in the next 10 minutes. You've got a Jax who's going to be really difficult to deal with on a side lane. Fury's going to keep stacking up. Woolite is going to be in a very, very strong place the later this game goes as well. Riddle have got strength on their part as well in terms of the later stages, but I feel like the onus is a little bit more on them in this game.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, that's what makes this so different. I can see the route where NORD just kind of scale in, But how strong can this LeBlanc be based off of early? Because if she's able to split out and be that threat on side, maybe that's what they want into playing against WoW. Banderas, by the way, with the CS advantage, is going to be extremely useful in the fights. That's what he has to be in this matchup. And Johan looking to set up with Kiba, who has had really good engages the whole time.
Kasing.
Oh, the face check.
Kasing, you're not allowed to say that. We're actually going to be going on to Woolite, splitting the focus from Riddle, but it's not going to matter. First blood for Jinjo.
I mean, what did Kasing do to Woolite? Like, Woolite just destroyed him. Like, that was anger right there when the Renata ult hit. That's your friend, man. It's your bro.
Incredibly rude. It was incredibly rude. And do you know what? Yeah. Woolite lives there, but he drops Flash and he drops Cleanse. So, replete play definitely available in the bottom lane. And with that Rift Herald dropped, funneling the plates onto Jinjo, you're sort of getting that gold where you need it in terms of carry threats. And Riddle have crested the 11-minute mark with a decent gold lead for themselves.
Yeah, it's a slow and steady game from them, but again, I question how well this is going to work. It works really well if they're decisive in these team fights, so maybe they're thinking, we're having a lot of issues with engaging in on team fights somewhat impatiently. Maybe we just conceive of the most brain-dead team fight comp on the planet where follow-up is easy. Say Lee Sin or LeBlanc misjudges or Kiba misjudges, it's really easy for Ornn to follow up on these plays, slow down the game and make the fight easier for them.
Has jumped onto Jinjo, the Gale Force out from the Xayah keeps him alive, but the Monkey King will not be so lucky. Hair's breadth away from getting the kill, couldn't make it happen. Riddle win out on the play, they're going to get a Drake as well.
That's a lead, by the way, alright? 2k gold on Riddle there. Obviously not an insane extent to like when NORD break open the game early, but at this stage, that gives you Mythic over non-Mythic. That can give you 2 items over 3 items at critical junctures. They're on 2 Drakes at 12 minutes. At 17, they could be on 3, which means that the late game could turn into the double soul Elder scenario very, very fast. Honestly, really good opening for Riddle here. Look at the items Jinjo's coming out of base with. This lead really matters at this particular point where 1 items come in, 1 items are very impactful, and that's something. They do have very late scaling with the Ornn and with the Ornn items level 13 onwards. That's something that does need to be considered when we're thinking which composition does win. The repeat play!
They just go bot lane again, Veteran. They just go bot lane again and they kill Woolite.
Yeah, I mean, they have the damage, they have the burst off of that initial kill. That's why it's so scary to have that. Look at the itemization versus literally no Mythic on Woolite. He's not even getting it on this death. He has no Mythic. They're going to be able to make a repeat play again and keep accelerating, keep snowballing. That's all they have to do now. They're playing the kind of game NORD wanted to play beforehand.
Yeah.
Let's see if they can show them how it's done. No Draven on that side, but it's still scary.
And it's gold going on to Jinjo, this guy who had to come in to the Riddle roster halfway through the split due to medical issues with Reptile, and it's been really impressive how well he's managed to integrate into this roster that was top of the table when he joined and has maintained that status throughout his tenure here. And in Game 5 of this series against the team that is pushing them all the way, they're giving the gold to the man from down under to try and get them the victory.
I mean, oh, this is a really good trade opportunity. Nice, okay, but Fury, he's going to be able to just recall there and come back in. Don't know if the next wave is cannon or not. If it is, he won't lose out too much, probably 1 or 2 minions. But yes, your point, they are playing heavily around the Jinjo, and we've been wondering when that's going to happen. Like, Jinjo, very aggressive player when he played in Prime League. We're used to seeing him on stuff like the Caitlyn, stuff like, I mean, obviously, the Jhin, right? Stuff like the Jinx, and generally be played around there by his teams. A player that kind of demands it somewhat. This game, he is getting that. They are accelerating.
Oh, NORD jumping on to Johan, who is somehow still alive. Gets a kick back through, but he's not going to be able to survive. A teleport in from Banderas will be able to knock up Woolite as Fire Rain on the back edge of that fight, fishing for something. But that's a play from Riddle going awry. We've seen this before, and Riddle fans don't want to see any more.
could be quite deadly as well, because they were continuing to play around Jinjo on side. Nord took the odd decision to match, even though they had terrible itemization and would like to do so, but it worked out because Johan was again a bit impatient, got a bit isolated, and therefore got caught out. Fire Rain wasn't able to join the fight at the same time, but he did push out mid. That means that they are going to have entrance in. It isn't possible for control to be taken back on the top side by Nord. It looks like a good herald for them. Obviously, on doing this a little bit slow, but Johan will be here, should speed up, shouldn't be any real risk of Nord getting here and contesting.
And Riddle, despite that little adventurous play, that little bit of an oopsie, they're still in a pretty sizable advantage given the point in the game that we are at. We're talking around about 4,500 gold. We're talking a couple Drakes are good. That Rift Herald as well in pocket is going to be able to knock down a structure. Most likely this mid lane tower fairly soon. And Nords, whilst they've got win conditions of their own, you cannot allow WoW this much time on the side lane because he is going to be able to take your tower. They're not accelerating at the same rate as Riddle.
It feels different when the lead is on Riddle than on Nord. You feel a bit more comfortable that Riddle will be able to carry this through onto the later stages, whereas we've seen Nord pretty consistently have advantages off of a fighter around this time early, to this extent even greater, and still throw it away. But that's the point, right? Riddle don't normally get the lead at this stage. We don't really know how they do play with it, but we do know they've shown signs of impatience in the last 2 games. Look at LeBlanc, though. Not playing with team here, playing solo, hard pressuring top. Jax, nowhere near the ability to pressure bot anywhere near as hard. LeBlanc leaning to mid on this wave, but after this wave meets, you have to assume she's going to go back to side unless a fight begins.
Getting a hook onto Banderas is not the best way to start a fight. Herald going to be used to generate a bit of mid lane priority, and Nord are completely closed off here. That mid lane tower is going down no matter what they do. Akabane has been chunked a fair bit. Now it's Fire Rain going forward onto Kasing, able to lock him up. Johan, resonating strike available, but doesn't want to go too far forward, doesn't want to make that mistake. They need to watch out in the mid lane though as well. He's able to get onto Kiva, and Jinjo is being engaged onto it. Shut down! Akabane is there, but you need to watch out for WoW. He has got a lot of power here on the Jax. He's not quite going to be able to use it. Riddle disengaging for the time being. Woolite, forcing forward Kasing with a mark above his head. But once again, Johan opts against going forward. Play ultimately even in terms of kills, but Riddle, they get that mid lane tower, they get position on the Drake.
The plan definitely seemed to be, though, you get the Herald on mid with that LeBlanc lean off of top pressure, and then you send the LeBlanc bot and play both mid and bot and secure the Drake in between. You get this trade-off here on the mid section, though, because Banderas actually gets caught out. WoW gets a kill onto Jinjo. That's actually pretty big. Jinjo where most of the gold and where the bounty was put. But still, the Drake does go to Riddle. They are still able to open up that soul point to 23 minutes into the game. That could shift us into a very late situation with Elder for Baron trade. Double objectives up there, but for the next 5 minutes or so until we get to that point, it's going to be all about how Riddle choose to set up the map with this big objective in mind. They have teleport on both Fire Rain and Banderas. You could see a very old rogue-like composition happening here where LeBlanc tries to play very heavily on the side, tries to make pick and jungle before that Baron, and tries to catch champions like the Jax on rotation. Who you send to match the Jax is the interesting thing here, because you can send Banderas or Fire Rain to either lane. It depends on how you view the matchups. Right now it looks like they want LeBlanc on the top side, able to lean in for the fight, and it looks like they are comfortable putting the Ornn into the Jax. Though I'd imagine the Jax is at the point where you can still just run the guy down, which is basically any point in the game. Yep, Banderas not looking confident in going into WoW there.
Ooh. Hold on. Okay, so we just saw a handshake coming through onto Woolite. No! He's overstepped. He's dead. He's dead. He's dead. Jinjo capitalizing on the pick, and Baron is going to be spawning in 3 seconds. Riddle can start this one up if they want to.
Before Crowny, before Sven, there was Woolite, and that is a mid-game int that they're going to remember. It gives them full control over the Baron. Banderas gets a push-off on bot as Jax resets to try to do a TP. Banderas here first with full ultimate. He can control these areas easier than most. Double stun, but no follow-up.
Oh, look at that, look at that. Look at WoW trying to get something done. Kasing a little bit too far forward. No Cyclone for Akabane. As he goes in, but just gets rooted. The feathers pull back. WoW is fighting Banderas on the side. The Baron still being aggroed by Riddle. They are trying to keep NORD at arm's length. WoW goes in, goes down. Fire Rain searching for a pick on the other side of the wall. Akabane going to rush himself away, but Johan will chase him down. Gets the flash, gets the kick, and it is a killing spree for Fire Rain. Riddle get themselves a Baron at 21 minutes.
Late game, Riddle draw blood. Early game, Riddle draw blood. Mid game, Riddle draw blood. This is a game entirely in Riddle's favor. Remnants of game 2, though, where the game was entirely in NORD's favor, and we were just thinking about when they would close rather than if. There could still be a window for Riddle to lose because you don't have anyone to match onto the Jax, but you can't get caught like that in midsection as Woolite did, or the game's going to be over very, very fast. There's still a world where NORD maintain a decent map state, no one gets caught, and the Jax pressure into Banderas gets utilized. Banderas no teleport, Fire Rain has teleport. The question is if LeBlanc could maybe match a Jax. Jax starting the push out in bot lane. Obviously, Baron on Riddle is going to likely force him into a group situation, but they can survive that. WoW is the guy that you are looking at to potentially bring the game back for NORD. Otherwise, the worst case scenario could occur and Duckling could be correct.
I mean, that's where it stands right now for Riddle. A 3-2 Juggernaut matchup against their arch rivals in the division. Now, placing this division in the bottom side jungle to be expected with that soul spawning in a minute's time, and still a fair bit of time on this Baron up as well, so it's going to be difficult for NORD to contest these pushes. Stacking 5 members to take out the wave is going to work for you just fine, but unless you're able to push further towards this river, then Riddle could just retreat over there, get the Ocean Soul, and NORD don't really have the opportunity to respond.
Baron's still a big deal here. Fury trying to find the stun, Kasing trying to find the hook. Not likely to happen. Banderas has the ultimate in front of everybody here. Johan would have to kind of hand it to them, but Fire Rain, he's getting the push in mid. That gives him flank opportunities. That means NORD have to split off and deal with that. Means NORD lose another round of potentially finding a pick. Eventually, this tier 2 is going to drop. They really need Riddle to make a mistake, but Riddle, they're refusing to make it.
I think they're really refusing to do anything that could offer up an opportunity, and as the wave comes in, you just move through onto that tower with Fury out of the picture for a moment. That gives an opportunity for Riddle to take down the structure. Dragon is just about to spawn and make sure this mid lane wave is pushed in before they rotate over. They could look for a pick as NORD walk through, or they could just go and get the objective right now.
This is the soul for Riddle. They get a lot of sustain. They have a lot of DPS of which to do this with. And it opens up Elder soon, which gives potential split priority for any team that has the ability to make that priority, and that is still Riddle. He's really not going to care about that Aurelion Soul, just going to hop, skip, jump away, still even as summoners. It's a very difficult game for NORD from here on out, but their tier 3s haven't been taken. So again, we're looking to WoW. Can he really be matched by anyone on that team? Banderas is going to have the TP up again soon, looking to burn the Ignite and do the swap. And then WoW wants to kind of set up the map in a way where maybe he can get a one-on-one off on a long stay. Maybe they can get a numbers advantage through that. Maybe then they can win a fight, and maybe they can start setting up a scenario where the game is back in their favor. But it's all on that split push, because the one thing Riddle don't have is the ability to deal with it without moving away from an objective.
But then the issue becomes, can WoW actually get enough time to convert something off of a split push? Because you need to get a couple waves shoved up before you start threatening inhibitors. And with the pace that this game is going on the Riddle side, I'm not sure if WoW could out-split push a 5-man unit.
Yeah, right now Riddle have full pressure and they're just not giving it up in this situation. If WoW was to split, that would be almost instant dive opportunity for Riddle. They kind of need to set this up on resets. They kind of need Riddle to get lazy with a wave or they'll never get an opportunity like that. Woolite drops almost half HP by one semi-combo from
Jinjo caught out. There goes the ultimate there from Kiba to disengage the play, and the AD carry for Riddle is still absolutely chilling. Wow, going forward onto Banderas as they maybe caught out the Ornn. Firerain coming over the wall to try and make something happen, but it's Fury that gets the first kill of the play. Johan is in the middle of absolutely everybody, and WoW is dead. A double for Jinjo as he pulls the feathers back. Firerain keeps firing. A rampage kill for the Riddle mid laner. Kasing hooks himself to his doom. 4 kills out of the play, top lane tower falling down.
A controlled game from Riddle, but an extremely dominant one nonetheless. You don't have the Draven with full swirls running in like you do first game. You don't have the Darius sprinting at them. You don't have the Olaf being unstoppable. But you do have a team that's looking like an unstoppable force. And NORD becoming a very movable object.
That is true. Very,
Thank you.
Very true. And NORD, it felt like they had something here, but no.
They did. They have an L.
The ability of Riddle to just keep this dive going under the tower is so impressive. That Ocean Soul helping them out a fair bit, keeping them nice and topped up in terms of HP. As we come out of the replay, heading straight over to a Baron. I like that Riddle have really looked at this game and gone, there is absolutely no way that we are letting NORD come back into this. They get 2 of those inhibs on the top side. They think, we're not going to push any further. We know that there's a guaranteed play that is going to put us in a great place. We don't want to risk doing anything stupid.
WoW would have loved to have applied some pressure bot lane while the Baron was potential, but because of that fight, the resets were off, the wave states were off. He does not care.
Doesn't care at all. Absolutely just chilling.
Yeah, I mean, it's a formality for Riddle to close this game out now, at this point. In 2 minutes, the Elder will be up, but it's questionable if NORD will still be in the game to do anything about it. Yeah. Honestly, Riddle need to put a flanker on mid. It looks like it's going to be LeBlanc. Then they can easily siege this tier 3. Top lane pushes itself out. Mid pushes itself out. NORD are going to have to give it up. They need to collapse on the flank, and they need to do it soon.
It's going to be difficult. Look at AD carry itemization. Jinjo on 4, Woolite on 2. That is not great maths.
4.5. Man, that's an Ornn item.
Bro, it's a lot of power. A lot of power, and similarly to that tier 2 tower, Riddle can just chill here as long as they like. Firerain is going to be getting a shove in mid lane. That is going to draw pressure away from the bottom lane. And as the next minion wave comes in, you can get another push. It's so easy, it's so cookie cutter, but it's what we've come to know from Riddle.
LB playing enough pressure, again forcing an attempt to collapse.
As the dive comes through under the tower, and Woolite will find himself in a war against his own teammates. Akabane diving onto the back line, but no, it is not going to be enough. Fury can drop as many particles as he can onto the bodies of Riddle. They will not be falling down this time. It was close, it was contested, but it's Riddle taking the Juggernaut match versus NORD.